Gris is a game about loss, an experience that you and I will have to go through at some points in our lives. It's an inevitable, inescapable fate, tragedy that can't be stopped. And in that process of loss, we all have to put our heads down and figure out how we will deal with the pain of loss. Gris shows us not only the pain of loss, but the stages of grieving. And it tells the story of a girl who's figuring out how to deal with that same pain. But hello, I hope you're all doing well. If it wasn't obvious enough today, I want to talk about 2018's critically acclaimed Gris. I'm just coming off the heels of playing Neva for the first time, the second game produced by Nomada Studios, the same studio that made Gris. And Neva is one of the best experiences not only of the year for me, but of all time. The way it was able to capture the game's premise in a visual, show not tell way made me so invested into the world. Not to get too long-winded on Neva, but it made me a fan of the studio to say the least. And if you want to check out my video on Neva, I'll leave it linked in the description below, so check it out. But with how good Neva was, I had to check out the first game of Nomada, the game that paved the way for it, that game being Gris. The beautiful visuals, the heartbreaking realization of the journey you're on, the emotional lows and highs, the journey's conclusion. Gris is one of a kind, and honestly I don't think I can do this game justice. My script writing alone won't be able to give this game its flowers, but I do hope that in some way my own experience will resonate with someone, and give more ideas on how marvelous this game really is. In this video, I want to go over my initial experience with Gris, along with explaining its themes, progression, and conclusion. I want to give this game a deep dive into what makes this game so special. There is a lot of stuff to go over, and this is my first experience with this story, so if I do happen to miss anything or maybe there's an ideology or message that you got that I didn't, let me know in the comments. But that's enough for this intro. If you want to hear my experience on Gris, you'll fit right in. And if you enjoy this type of content, leave a like and subscribe. I do analysis-based content on the games I experienced for the first time. I love going through stories like this and giving my own thoughts on them. I plan to do more content like this in the future. But with all of that out of the way now, let's get into how Gris deals with loss. As I've said in the intro, Gris is about tragedy of loss, and going through the stages of grief. We start off with the first stage, denial. We start off with the game's opening, showing us our main character, Gris. She's singing away a very melodramatic tune, seemingly putting all emotion behind it. As you sing, the statue you're on begins to crumble, Gris then losing her voice. As her voice goes away, the statue crumbles. Gris then falls infinitely, it seems. This is the start of Gris. This scene is very important when understanding the premise of Gris. At the time, we don't get much context other than the fact that the visuals are shown. This lack of context will be very important later when we finish the story. But for now, we're with Gris, as she's slowly falling, eventually hitting the ground floor. After the almost endless falling that Gris just went through, we wake up in a very desolate desert. There's no color. This area is very void of all life and emotion. There isn't much here, but it fits the mood of Gris. She's obviously very void of anything herself, the white desert land almost being a reflection of Gris. She walks with her head down, implying something to be weighing her down. She's also still lost her ability to sing, a mechanic that is meant to be a focal point given the game's intro. This first area perfectly depicts the idea of denial. Even at the beginning when Gris didn't want to get up, she's in complete denial of having to face her loss head on. It's the reason she walks so slow. And it being a desert is a great setting for this point of Gris stages. Deserts on a bit of a more spiritual level are seen as places of barriers, challenges, and obstacles. Deserts are harsh terrains to survive in generally, so Gris falling into a desert and that being her first experience with the idea of grieving is, in my opinion, such a strong move by the dev team. Gris doesn't feel like she can move on because the obstacles in her life are way too extreme. Even the word desert comes from the Latin word that I can't pronounce, but I'll put it on the screen, which means an abandoned place. This same ideology rolls over into the anger part of the chapter too. As Gris goes through the desert, she arrives to a similar hand she stood on before, and standing on it seems to have unlocked something in Gris. The color red explodes out of her dress, and then the anger portion begins. The sky is now painted red, along with some birds that are now red as well. During the first portion of the chapter in the denial stage, we are seen collecting white orbs. They help us traverse the areas we need them in order to continue moving forward. And in the anger chapter, the couple of stars we collected are set into the sky, seeming to have started the form of a constellation. Constellations being the forming of stars that form a picture in the sky. The anger portion is a tone shift. While still feeling the loss she suffered, the anger portion is something that takes precedent after the denial stage. The red-black coloring, the use of a piano with very eccentric rhythms, even Gris herself is a lot more visually changed. moving in some place that's fast without your control. As I've said earlier, deserts are places of harshness, the feeling of ongoing obstacles are in an area of unfamiliarness. This takes another step in anger as the gameplay shows it itself. The sandstorms constantly impeding the progress of Gris. During the middle portion of Anger, we arrive at a temple-like place. The music hits an all-time climax of emotion, seemingly telling us this area is of importance. And sure enough, it is. As we traverse the temple, we see the start of many statues throughout the game. These statues are very much like the stone hand we familiarize ourselves with. They both appear over and over in our integral parts of the game. With the power we unlocked earlier at our disposal, we can now traverse down through the temple. We break through the floor and we stop at a room with a single bell. This struck me as odd at first. This room only contained a single huge bell. There is no other substance to be seen here. This room was intentionally made to mean something. And well, I think it does. Bells symbolize a bunch of things, but there's two meanings in particular that I think match what the game is saying. One is the symbolization of new beginnings and ends, typically referring to school, but I think it can apply to certain other situations as well. And the other being bells meaning death. The ringing of a bell or a church bell is to signify the passing of somebody. There's a ton of different meanings to signify what it is, but one of the things I love is that the game lets you interpret what it means. There is no wrong or right answer, just like there isn't a wrong or right answer when you're dealing with grief. That's one of my favorite things about nomadic games is that they let their visuals show it and they let you tell. After breaking through the bell floor and falling to the next floor, you're met with a mirror image of Gris. In the room it's a bunch of those same statues of a woman. This room to me is one of self-reflection. This is the anger stage after all. The mirror image is supposed to symbolize the side of Gris that is constantly dragging her down. The side of herself she wants to escape but can't. That side ends up breaking free, sending Gris back up to the surface and now out in the world. This chapter and game in general is chock full of symbolization and interpretation. Like I said in the intro, if there's anything I might have missed, let me know in the comments. But after getting through more obstacles in this chapter, we reach another one of those stone hands. And just like before, once we step on it, Gris reacts and her dress reveals another color to the world, that being green. I'll be honest, at first I didn't completely understand what made this the bargaining stage of grief. The bargaining stage is a stage of trying to compensate for the loss, whether that's pleading with a higher power or whether it's trying to negotiate something for the loss. A prayer never answered, essentially. It could even be a fixture of coping, making up imaginary things in your head to try and replace what you lost. I think bargaining is the most complex stage of grieving, at least in my opinion it is. I think the game does a good job of making this area very up to interpretation. It's the reason, like I said earlier, of me not knowing exactly what this chapter meant. But I think now I kind of understand what this chapter is trying to say. After stepping on the stone hand again, we make the world green, and the next area we played through was a forest. And just as before with the desert, there is a meaning behind this. Forests are meant to be areas of renewal. They hold a deep connection to nature, something that will make a lot more sense later down the road. But for now I see it as a place of potential renewal for our protagonist. As we progress through the forest, we end up meeting one of the creatures of the forest. He was eyeing us this whole time and eventually upon feeding him, he becomes our friend. The friend being around Gris actually puts a smile on her face. We see her pat the little one before he runs off. At this point in the story, we've seen Gris's depression very clearly, but here in this chapter seems to have found some solace in meeting somebody new. For this chapter in particular though, is one I want to come back to after the conclusion of the story, as the themes of bargaining make a lot more sense after we realize what Gris has actually gone through. But for now, after climbing a ton of obstacles, we end up meeting with the dark entity we met in the anger stage. We face it head on. With Gris managing to overcome it again, we arrive at a stone hand once more. This time, the color is blue. Depression is an area we have all been acquainted to at some point. We don't have to go through the stages of grief to experience depression. So in this area, a lot of the themes presented are familiar areas that I myself have recognized. After arriving at the stone hand, we get the color blue, followed by rainwater. This area is filled with themes of water and sinking, which of course goes one-on-one with the stage we're in. Rain is a symbol of many things, but a lot of the times from people the idea of rain can bring gloom. The idea of rain and a downpour can bring melancholy feelings to a person. And I think this is how Gris feels. This entire first section of the chapter is filled with a downpour. Hearing the splatter of rain and Gris' lonely footsteps invokes a sadness even in myself. It feels a depression in the air. We traverse the same forest in the bargaining stage for a bit. After a while, we have to go lower in the world. And like I said earlier, this is where the theme of sinking comes in. The idea of sinking to me means the feeling of losing yourself. As you're sinking away from you, you're drifting away from yourself as a result of this depression. Could also be a lack of purpose. You feel as though you lost what it means to live. The idea of water and sinking are great for this theme and chapter. Also a representation of lost faith. You feel as though everything you worked for comes to a halt, whether it's because of tragedy or something else. In this case, it's because of a tragedy. Gris feels as if she's in a sinking depression. The rain, the water, the swimming we do, it all points to the theme of some sort of depression built up inside of Gris. I'm going to keep going over and over about it, but I absolutely love the way the game paints this visual and lets us, the player, interpret it ourselves. To me, this area of depression has a ton of themes in it, but someone else could interpret it a different way. Maybe they see the rain, water as something else, and that's okay. It's the beauty of the visuals. As Gris traverses the waters, she eventually reaches another stone hand, this time emitting the color of yellow. After a brief stint of standing, we're immediately attacked by the dark entity once again, this time taking form of an eel. And this could be a reach, but I found an article online about what an eel would represent, because with all of the symbolisms in this game, I wanted to leave no stone unturned. And funny enough, this article reads, and I quote, "It's a devastating metaphor. The eel as death's incarnate. Or rather, not just death, but also death's opposite. The eel has a kind of symbolic link between the beginning and end, between the origin of life and its demise." That fits with the narrative this game has to offer. It may not be exactly what the game is going for, but I wanted to mention it anyways. It also applies to the end of the chase with the eel. As we think we're going to get swallowed up, we're saved last second by a turtle. The turtles also have the meaning of being protection, with its shell being a physical representation of that. Up to this point in the game, we've essentially seen it all when it comes to the idea of the stages of grief, going through each and every one of the stages and attempting to figure out the connection that it has to Gris. We've covered many thematic themes and moments that this game has gave to us. It's been a journey, but now it's time to find acceptance. Gris, as the main character, it's obvious the story is about her grief. But what is she grieving? There's been many assumptions made to this point, but there hasn't been anything clear so far. This chapter answers our questions. We're in the final area now. Our main hub area has now branched off into this very neon light area. Many glowing flowers, binding lights, and some magic flowers as well. The area is full of bright lights. Up to this point, there's been a lot of negative connotations in these areas, but this time it feels different. The last ability we unlock is our long-lost voice, the one we've been searching for since the start. The opening of the game showed us the loss of our voice, but now we have it back. And in this final area, our voice is essential to progressing. It's a testament to how important finding our voice again really was. It took us going through all those stages, but now we're back to where we want to be. But of course, we have one more stone left unturned. As I've said in Chapter 1, we have been collecting these stars in order to progress through the game. And up to this point, they have been building a constellation. Once we finally gathered the last of the stars, we are now able to attempt to climb them. But of course, we are paid one last visit by the dark entity. This dark entity proved to be the dark side of Gris, a representation of her negative emotions. The moment she let them free in the anger portion is when she kept coming back, needing to be suppressed somehow, some way. The entity screams and breaks the world, shattering everything around Gris. She's then swallowed up by the darkness and has no choice but to swim up and finally face her tragedy head on. We slowly sink to the surface, a long, quiet swim. Almost a bit of time to reflect on what we just been through. After finally reaching the surface, we see a statue, one of a woman laying down, seemingly one who had passed on. The same statue of the ones we see previously. As we reach the top of the broken world, we arrive at our final stone hand. It's of the woman's statue we've come to know so well. As Gris sings and sings, she's slowly swallowed by the darkness, and in a last-second emergence, the statue sings back. With Gris and the statue now singing in unison, the world is built back together. A light emits and the colorful world is finally back. As Gris kisses the statue goodbye, the statue lets off a single tear. Going through all the stages, losing every ounce of hope we had, sinking and sinking away from our depression, being angry over the loss, we finally accept it. We are now able to climb the constellation and finally accept our tragedy, heading into the blinding white light, and finally moving on. That is how Gris deals with loss. This game did a fantastic job at giving the player a mural to look at, a blank one the player is able to make part of themselves. There's a ton of themes and ideas in this game that's probably went straight over my head, but this is my first playthrough. I suspect as I dive into this game more, I'll understand better, but for now I'm satisfied with my experience of Gris. But now I want to go over some things I didn't mention through the video, some more important information regarding this game, and some new ideas I think aren't always mentioned when people talk about this game. But first, of course, I don't want to not point out exactly who was the one that Gris lost. Throughout the game, you're able to collect these mementos throughout every chapter, and collecting all of these mementos were able to give you a secret cutscene in the final stage of the game. Here it is. The statue who guided us through the game was Gris's mother. The person Gris is grieving about is her passing mother, which is all confirmed in the last portion of the game where we pass the statue who's lying in a coffin. Thus, now knowing the cause of Gris's grief and all of the themes pointing to the cause, I want to touch on some things I held back until the conclusion of the story. First is going back to chapter 3, bargaining. I said I'll come back to this chapter after the conclusion of the story because I felt like the main theme of bargaining connects to the cause of Gris's grief, which we know now is the death of a loved one, her mother. The main theme of this chapter was bargaining, and through the chapter you're guiding this little one of the forest. He's hesitant at first, but he eventually grows a liking to Gris. I think this was Gris's way of bargaining for her mother. Gris, and now the mother figure to this little one. His bargaining is the negotiation of coping for a lost one. Gris put herself in this situation of her mother to try and fill the void of the one she lost. She wanted to be with this one while she was lonely, just as her mother would have been for her when she was lonely. It could be the wrong message, but I think this makes the best chapter for the narrative I was trying to paint, because at first I had no idea what guiding him did for the story. And I want to touch on one final thing in a similar vein. My first playthrough of the game, I'll be honest, I was confused. I didn't realize until the very end of what this game was trying to signify, as there isn't much to go off of until we finally understand some context. And after realizing that, I somewhat came up with an idea as to why that was the case. I think as much as we are confused, Gris was too. The loss of a loved one can sometimes cause a sign of confusion. As much stock as people put into the 5 main stages of grief, I feel as though immediate confusion is part of these stages. Think about it. If you were to hear someone you know has passed on, I feel as though there could be some immediate confusion there. I feel as though that's kind of the same thing for Gris. You're struck with a void feeling, just as Gris was, so it kind of made sense as to why we were just thrown in the game. One last assumption for this game, as I feel I've been rambling for a while now. It's the idea of Gris of losing her voice. I don't think Gris ever lost her ability to sing, more she lost herself. The power of her voice was nullified because she hadn't gone through those stages of loss. So in the end of the game, when she did sing again, it was a sign of her finally realizing and accepting the loss. Gris is a game about loss and how to deal with it. It's one of the best experiences I've gotten to play through this year. One of my favorites from a narrative standpoint. This game lives rent-free in my head. But that's all for me about Gris. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like. Would be very appreciated. This is one of the longer scripts I've written, and I'm not going to act like I'm some sort of brilliant writer or creator yet, so thank you for bearing with me. If there's anything I may have missed or something you saw that I didn't, let me know in the comments. Would love to see what other angles people have with this game. And if there's any other games like this, let me know. I've played through most of the game series I've wanted to touch this year, so I'm kind of looking for some new stuff. My content is based on analyzing games, so if you enjoy this type of content and want to see more, why not subscribe? But that's all for me. Thank you everyone for watching, and goodbye.